Kasama Lee, your community realtor.
So I am so thrilled to be sitting here with our American Canyon Fire Chief, Geoff Belyea. Thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time to educate the homeowners, fire safety tips. You shared this talk the other day, and I just thought people need to hear about this and the things that I myself as a homeowner take for granted, and I learned a lot that day, and I feel like we could really share this really great information out. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem at all, Kasama, and thank you for having me and the opportunity to speak on your YouTube channel, taking the conversation we had at the Realtors group another step forward in making it available for all of your followers.
Absolutely. So you said some stuff the other day that just totally resonated with me as a homeowner, and I feel like there's some things that I have shared with my clients, home buyers and home sellers, and they totally integrate. So could you share a little bit about, you were talking about landscaping materials. Tell us.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple different layers to the landscaping. So we'll start up high, no pun intended, but we'll talk about trees and limbs overhanging your roof line, especially that are close to chimneys or fireplaces. Typically, we'd like to see those cut back about 10 feet away from your fireplaces. Any tree limbs that are overhanging your roof line, especially if they have dead material in them, like those trimmed out. A lot of people think that when you're talking about the tree limbs, it's just to stop the nuisance of your gutters getting clogged when it starts getting the rainy season. Right. But really, it's to help minimize the fire spread in two ways. One, if your home unfortunately catches fire, those tree limbs, if they're very close to your roof line or your chimney, those can actually act as conduits and help spread the fire outside your home. In fact, they just had an incident in San Jose over the weekend. High winds, they had a lot of trees and so forth around the homes, and from what I saw in the news, the fire actually went from one home to another, and the trees potentially could have been one of the contributing factors. So we talk about that with the terms of context of a structural fire, but also in a wildland fire environment, those trees and so forth could actually be a conduit for the fire to potentially spread from the wildland fire to your home.
Okay, so the main thing is the distance is, you said 10 feet?
Yeah,
10 feet away. 10 feet, yep. Okay, so we should be pruning our trees regularly.
It's a good standard practice, just to, the one constant is trees always want to grow, right? So we want to keep those, we want to keep on top of those so that we can keep that spread or that distance from our roof line to the surrounding vegetation, i.e. trees.
Right. And what about, so the other thing you talked about was the ground cover materials. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, there's actually been a lot of research that's come to light from at the national level as well as the state level. They refer to it as the 0 to 5 foot zone around your home, where they're making recommendations now that from 0 to 5 feet from your home is non-combustible material, whether it's rocks, hardscape, or things like that. What they're finding in the event of a wildland fire is, there's often this misconception that the flaming front from a wildland fire that moves through an area is what's actually igniting the homes, but what they're actually finding is it's the ember cast. So think of it as fiery snow. The embers that are actually going out in front of the fire, they're landing in what we refer to as a receptive fuel bed. Dry grasses, sometimes bark, mulch that are very common landscaping item.
I have that in my house.
Yeah.
My front lawn.
Yeah. So what they're finding is those small embers will land in that combustible material immediately adjacent to your home. Those will in turn actually ignite your home, especially if you have combustible wood siding and so forth. And that's where they're seeing, actually, after doing a lot of studies on the matter, where a lot of the homes are being consumed in wildfires by the ignition of the combustible landscaping immediately adjacent to your home, or within what they refer to as that 5 foot zone.
So what would you suggest that, so let's say my wood chips are kind of thinning out, and it's time to either replace them with new wood chips, or now that I'm learning this from you, I'm thinking something else. What would you recommend that I would replace my ground covering material with?
Well, a lot of it's going to be your personal preference, as long as it's non-combustible.
What, you're not advising on landscaping
No,
styles?
no. I try to stick to the areas that I know.
Your lanes?
But I will share, during COVID, especially during the first phase of the lockdown, my wife and I's project was we took all the bark from around our home within that 5 feet, and we actually replaced it with decomposed granite.
Decomposed granite.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you get that?
Most landscaping supply yards have that.
Okay.
Really, decomposed granite, you see it all the time. Oftentimes it's used for like walking paths through parks and different things.
Yeah.
So that's what we chose. Again, it was just our personal preference.
Sure.
There's a lot of things out there that folks could use that would fit not only their personal landscaping style or how they want their home to look, especially from the street, or what they refer to as curb appeal, right?
Right.
And then
so
you have
rocks,
non-combustible, right?
So Google non-combustible materials, and you'll have choices.
Yep, there are choices. So really it depends on each individual homeowner's personal style,
Right.
but what they're recommending is that 0 to 5 feet. You don't have the bark, the mulch, the vegetative material that could ignite in the event of a wildfire.
Okay. What else are in terms of the perimeters of the home that we should be looking out for so that we're not contributing to the fire hazard?
Well, I think the first and foremost, especially here in American Canyon, where we have an ordinance for folks starting June 1st, is to make sure all the weeds and everything on their parcels are trimmed down. A couple inches in height, usually no more than 4 inches in height. That's the first big step, irregardless of the city that you live in. But you always drive down the street and you see the neighbors whose front yards have kind of gone back to its natural state. The weeds are very high.
I love the way you
so forth like that. That's where we look. That's the first step, and that's probably the quickest and easiest way to start minimizing the fire risk, especially the wildfire risk to your home, is just keeping all the weeds and everything mowed around your home. There's a lot of great resources as well. You can go to the Master Gardeners Associations. You can go to some of your local landscape suppliers. They typically, in my experience, they have plant lists that are maybe more fire resistive plants that are still decorative that you could use, plant around your home. There's a lot of different ways like that. One of the other things that, again, it's a personal preference, but with your fences, your wood fences and so forth, some of the research, they're starting to recommend that, again, that 5 feet from the side of your home with your fence is more of a non-combustible fence versus the traditional wood fence. Those are some things that they're starting to make recommendations at a state and national level on, just to help make your home more fire resistant in the event that you do end up in the area of a wildfire where it could potentially impact your home.
Okay, so this is all great. What to look out for outside the house. Let's talk about inside the home. What tips could you share with us, like in terms of maybe the safety tips, smoke alarms, so on and so forth?
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up. I think anytime we talk about home safety, I think we often focus a lot of times on the exterior of your homes. Inside your home, right? Your home is your castle, and what you do there has a sense of privacy to it, right? That we certainly want to be respectful for, but there's certain things that every homeowner or resident can do to help make themselves a little bit safer at home in the event they have a fire inside their home. The first is making sure that your smoke detectors are working. Those that have battery-powered smoke detectors, we recommend changing those smoke detector batteries twice a year. Easy way to remember it is when you spring forward and fall back, or set your clocks forward and back. Now, that's not as much of a reminder anymore with the advent of smartphones and things like that, where they automatically set the time. I mean,
they don't even remind you. They just.
Right. Back in the old days, you used to have to go and check and program every clock in the house twice a year.
Right.
But smoke detectors are probably one of the biggest things that have a positive impact on saving someone's life. In the event of fire, those smoke detectors are designed to warn you as soon as they detect the smoke so that you have time to get out of your home. Carbon monoxide detectors are somewhat of a recent safety precaution, but a very important one as well, because carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas that for all intents and purposes, it displaces the oxygen in the air. So not only having good functioning smoke detectors, but also carbon monoxide detectors in your home are two very simple ways that you can help ensure the safety of your family in your home. I think the other thing that also is worth mentioning is a lot of people like using candles in their home, whether it's to change the scent of the home or ambiance or so forth. The biggest thing you want to do with that is you never want to leave a candle unattended in a room.
Mm-hmm.
When you do light your candle, you want to make sure that it's far enough away from combustible objects that potentially, if they come in contact with it, could ignite curtains, drapes, blankets, decorative furnishings that you put on your walls and so forth. Candles are typically a fairly common source of ignition for
I was just going
homes.
to ask, I mean, do you get a lot of those being reported because of left on candles, unattended candles?
It is not uncommon during the course of a fire investigation to determine that an unattended candle was the source of ignition for the structure fire. So really, it's just some simple common sense things that, and it's tough in today's day and age, right? It's very easy to get distracted, but you want to make sure that if you do have a candle burning, that you're in attendance of it. Make sure that you're have combustibles away from it. Or really now with the advent of the battery powered lighting and so forth that resembles a candle.
The fake candles.
The fake candles. Maybe use those instead of the traditional open flame candle, just to help minimize those fire risks inside your home.
And then do the plug-in scent if you need some scented candle feel. Just artificialize everything. That's a word, artificialize.
Yeah.
I have something to share with you as you were talking about the smoke alarms. It was a flashback. American Canyon Fire Department has been a near and dear organization in our home. Way back when my parents lived with us, they both have passed away. The fire department had come by our house a few times. We would call the 911. 911, by the way, they're at 911 Donaldson Way. And I remember one time I was not home and my mom was in the kitchen. She was in her 70s. And next thing I knew, I got a call. I came home. My mom was sitting on the front porch. Fire department was there. She basically left the stove on. And, and she was at the later stage where her memories weren't serving her well. And she's like, I don't know, something's going on in there. The alarm's going off and the fire department's in there. And thank goodness for a working smoke alarm.
Yep.
And I think that's, the things that sometimes we take for granted and we don't check. So in my work, it was one of the first things. I would walk through the property, and if there's any of them beeping, right, or they're not working, like, we got to get them all installed, because it's actually the seller's responsibility to have those units working, along with the carbon monoxide detector, that they need to be in working condition, not just to have them and them not working. And I think what you just shared with us today is working knowledge of what we already have in our home, outside of our home, around our home, inside our home, that maybe we're not being mindful about. And it's not just about, for me, when I talk to home sellers who are selling a home, they think it's about trimming the trees to make it look nice and, clean out the gutters. But what you're telling us is it's a fire hazard. Even if you're not selling your home, you should be maintaining your home on a regular basis. And lives are busy, and a lot of times we make it not as important, but it becomes important when your house is not fireproof.
Yeah, the way I look at it, it's no different than maintaining your vehicle. You got to change the oil, you got to put fuel in it, you got to make sure your tires are properly inflated.
Yeah.
You got to take the same kind of maintenance regime or preventative maintenance regime and apply it to your home as well.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you for your time. Like, this means so much, and I hope that this information gets out there to those homeowners. I mean, I'm going to make sure that we continue to share it. This is evergreen material. This is stuff that we all should be mindful of, so that we can be more responsible homeowners and look out for our neighbors as well. So thank you, Chief.
No problem. Thank you.
I appreciate you, and thank you for just all that you do in our community in American Canyon, for you to, and your team to be around with your friendly faces. Every time we see the fire trucks, they're not always bad.
No.
But you're the friendly protectors in our community, and I appreciate that.
No, thank you. And I think it's important. You said a key word there. It's a team. It's not about me. It's about the team here at AmCan Fire and the guys and gals that go out every day and really those are who you see, right? Whether it's in the event of an emergency or if it's at Meet Me in the Streets and our other events where they're teaching you hands-only CPR or how to program your phone for emergency contacts. It's really a team effort here.
Absolutely. And you know, that's what I love about our little city. It's everybody's kind of looking out for each other in their own way. So
Absolutely.
grateful that you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.